Passover craft ideas. Need a red letter KJV so we can skip a lot of reading. 2 blank sheets of paper and a pen, something to write on. Sheet A is for notes, pertinent scripture here. Sheet B, we're going to make a line calendar. Grab a piece of paper and draw a line lengthwise in half. Mark the halfway point and the halfway point and the halfway point. And again the halfway point, halfway point, halfway point. Then again all those halfway points and start off with the 8th. Number them all the way up to 22. Circle the 14th for Passover, small p. Put brackets around the 15th to the 21st for the matzah feast. Add squares on the 15th and 21st for their high Sabbaths. And then make this little line here with a question mark because somewhere in here is going to be a weekly Sabbath and we don't know when that is. You can take your notes paper and lay it side by side with what you've written and make these marks on here denoting the same distance of days. And you write on there the days of the week, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So any given one of these, any given Passover, okay, a weekly Sabbath is going to fall in there somewhere. Okay, so that's why we got that question mark on the weekly Sabbath. Then finally draw a circle all the way around from the 10th when you choose your lamb. We'll read about that in a minute. Up through the 21st. That is Passover with a capital P, or Matzah Fest. Passover with a small p is the day that you actually kill the Passover, the sacrifice day. That chart is taken from Exodus 12, where you take it out on the 10th of the month. Take it out, keep it up until the 14th. Kill it in the evening. The doorpost blood token, it's going to be a memorial. You're going to feast. You're going to keep throughout your generations as an ordinance forever. 7 days. Okay? No word of Passover. He's talking about the Feast of Unleavened Bread is to be kept. But we know exactly what he's talking about. That Feast of Unleavened Bread that you're going to keep, you're going to eat a special meal here, that you have killed here, that you have chosen here. That's why when you say Passover, you better know what you're talking about. Turn your paper over and draw a line down the middle. And that middle line you can easily divide into thirds. And on the other side you can easily divide it into thirds. Where the half line is, there's going to be thirds. And where the half line is, it's going to be divided. Finally, we're going to draw 10 horizontal lines. They're going to be in such a way that each square is going to be approximately the same size. That's what we're looking for. 10 of them, so that 10 lines horizontally. That gives us 11 spaces to work with. You can label them Aviv, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, City. Don't worry, a lot of these are blank. Under Matthew, we're going to skip the first couple X's, and we're going to go from 21:1 to 21:17. All right, we know verse 18 starts off now in the morning, so we know that's another day. Verse 21:20 starts off, and when the disciples saw it. He's speaking of this fig tree. We know that's another day by Mark we'll read about here later. This 26:5 ends a lot of chapters of Jesus talking, and we know that we're going to skip a day here, and it picks up again on being in Bethany at Simon the leper's, which is, he'll give a short account of the anointing on his head. That head anointing on the 16th verse and picks up with the 17th verse. It starts it off sometime in the future. We learn that it's actually the next day, but it says, now the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the disciple says, where if we go to prepare thee to eat the Passover. This is just for these two verses because they did everything that he said, and then in verse 26:20 we're already at the Last Supper. Okay, Mark's going to start us off with getting the one wild donkey, and we know it's another day because it says, and Jesus entered into Jerusalem and looking around upon all things, and now eventide was come, he went out to Bethany with the 12. Whew. Okay, so you can try to pull these down and that's perfectly fine, but it's not the way I see it. This doesn't work out with the other guys. So this is another day. And then verse 12 starts off, and on the morrow. So this even, he says, an eventide is coming out with the Bethany with the 12. Okay? That's the start of another day, and he's saying, and on the morrow. So that's where we get this other day for this. And it matches up with the leaf cursings in Matthew that we see takes 2 days, because this is going to be see when they saw it. Okay? So the 12th starts out with on the morrow, and then it says at the end of 19, and when even was come. And then verse 20 starts off, and in the morning as they returned, they saw it by the roots. Okay, so that's how we know when they saw it. Here he actually says there's a fig tree curse, and the disciples heard it. And this ends at 14:2 with him. Well, this one says Jesus' words after 2 days is going to be the Feast of Passover. And this one just says in Mark's words, it's going to be after 2 days, it's going to be the Feast of Passover. But same thing here. We know later on that he's going to skip a day because of the woman. She's the one that puts it all together. This is just saying, verse 14, 3-11, starts off, and being in Bethany. We know that it could be any time later, but we learn it's actually this day. Matches up with him. Being in Bethany at Simon's, and Simon the leper, okay? And that's where we get, and then that ends on 12, and we go immediately into from 12 to 16, because it says, for this, verse 12 says, and the first day of unleavened bread. Okay, where should we go to make ready the Passover, etc.? That's a whole other teaching all in itself. And then another day starts in the evening, and this is the same thing. And in the evening come. Okay, this is evening. This is evening. We know this is the Last Supper, but it's definitely just after sundown, maybe. But however long it takes, he's got to eat and wash their feet, and that's going to take till, I can guarantee you, after sundown is another day. Luke, we go from 19:28 to 36. He's saying the exact same words. You ought to read these together. You ought to get two of you together and just read. It's the exact same words for about 10 things. But then Luke, he promised a chronology in his first opening verses of his book. He promised chronology, so we're going to wonder what the heck he's going to have to say here. Oh, you're just dying to find out. Yeah, the next line, we're going to skip this day. We know because the next line here is in verse 37. And even now at the descent of the Mount of Olives. Okay, and you got a great picture in your head where he's coming down the descent of the Mount of Olives to come into Jerusalem. Okay, you don't do that. You ascend up to Jerusalem. The Mount of Olives is taller, but you're not coming from the top of the Mount of Olives. When you get to the Mount of Olives across the Kidron Valley Bridge, you're going to take a left to go around it. You're going to take a right to go around it. You take a right to go around it. You're going to descend to Bethany. Okay, you ascend to Jerusalem from Bethany, hit the Kidron Valley Bridge. You're going to take the eastern gate. Either way, you're going up. So when you got a picture in your mind him coming down the Mount of Olives, weeping before the city and such. No, this is that's not the triumphal entry. This is the Bethphage triumphal entry. Even in Mark's words, he says, nigh to Jerusalem, had already been to Bethphage. At the Mount of Olives, he sent forth two. Okay, these guys all agree. These days are here for a reason. 1937. It goes all the way to the end to the end. Okay, so we can skip a day because he doesn't really give he gives a good chronology, but it's so quick. This where we have after 2 days on these other guys, he's just going to say and on one of those teaching days, but the words are going to be exactly the same. What authority do you come here, and why do you do this? Because here because he overthrows the tables. He 2 days in a row. And then on the third day they say what authority? And this matches up. But this ends with 22:2. And then yes, there's a space. And then the guess what? We're in Bethany, okay, at Simon the leper's. And that's from 3 to 6. And then it says, then came the day of unleavened bread when the Passover must be killed, or some ridiculous stuff that you couldn't understand if you didn't have our little chart that we did at the beginning. And that's when that happens. The 22:14 is the Last Supper. Again, it says, and when he had come, he sat down at supper with the 12. So it may have been in the afternoon he sat down with them, but I'm counting it as the Last Supper. That's going to go so long. It's definitely going to be another day. That's Lukey boy. John picks up the action on the saying, then Jesus, 6 days before the Passover, he's at Lazarus's. Stinky Lazarus. So the girl that we have to mention every time we preach the gospel of the kingdom, we got to mention her. Oils his feet, wipes his feet with her hair. She's at Lazarus's. He's at Lazarus's, getting their feet. Then Judas Iscariot, in verse 4, complained it could have been sold for 300, and that's where all these guys match up. At Bethany, Simon the lepers, they're all at Simon the lepers when she dumps it on his head, breaks the box. It can't be before, it can't be after, it has to be, he said it. Verse 3 ends, did the feet with the hair, and then verse 4 starts right off and says, then saith Judas Iscariot. We could have used then the disciples complained, and Judas Iscariot. So we know that's the next day. We know these are the next days because all of these say, we're running out of time here. On now the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, now the first day of unleavened bread when the Passover must be killed. Then came the day of unleavened. We know those all match up. This oil to the head is on is through verse 11, and then it goes verse 12 just to the end of that chapter. Because we know that it starts on 12 because it says on the next day. So from here to here it says on the next day. This is after Judas. In 3 short verses, he covers 3 days. Boom, boom, boom. That's the key to the whole thing. When was all this? When was all this? Well, that girl with the oil that we're supposed to mention every time, she's the key. Let's see. And then this, of course, will just be 13:1 plus. And knowing that his hour had come, and there's a very long this, and you think it's a whole like, oh my gosh, when is this? But that's the Last Supper. So if you have it all filled in, it should look something like this. And these are the dates we're going to use. The Last Supper on the 11th. And how do we know that? Well, we'll get out the big one here. Because Jesus talking in red. That's your red letter KJV that's going to help you read through this a lot quicker. This is the teacher's edition. Not only is it 21:1 through the 17th, but you can see if you read it left to right, you read this, then 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 this, then... If you read it like that, it's like these guys are talking to each other. It's beautiful and harmonious. This is the teacher's edition if you want to pause this to try to make a better calendar. I know the one that you wrote temporary in this little craft thing was just for your reference. But again, this is on the 7th, and we know to skip a day here, because being in Bethany at Simon the lepers, being in Bethany, Simon the lepers, I don't know what that one says. And we know that he did the oil on the feet on this, and so there's no way around it. There's no way around it. It was, the Last Supper was on the 10th to 11th. So let me show you the teacher's edition. Oh, here we are. What is this? This is probably a more accurate way to... You can freeze this or whatever if you wanted to try to copy it down in a better way. But obviously, yes, you choose your lamb on the 10th. Keep it up till the 14th when you kill it and cook it. Cook it. You don't eat it yet. Then you eat it and you burn the rest of it on the 15th. That starts the... Oh yeah, that starts... No, this is a 12-day event. So there's your little craft project you can do for Passover. So you get 4 of you together and you just start reading left to right. One guy plays Mark. And notice how you can still read all of Matthew by itself, and everything goes in chronological order. Same with Mark. You can do it in chronological order. All of these read together by day. Oh, I should probably put the days in there. This is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, you know the days. if you're seeking the truth and doing it chronologically, you're going to read it day by day and find out 3 triumphal entries by Jesus, a perfect Passover, perfect Passover. But as a provision, if you just love the Lord and you want to read Matthew one day, you're going to see a triumphal entry, a casting out of the den of thieves. Hey, they 2 days drew nigh, and then they had the Last Supper. Okay, same thing with Mark. You're going to read a single Mark, and it's like, oh, he had a triumphal entry, threw out some pigeon sellers, and then after 2 days. Okay, but you're going to run into some problems, and they're all solved here. Let's see what else we got here. I guess really the only other thing is to try to do it like a Gregorian calendar. This would be the 3rd. This is the Bethphage triumphal entry. This will be the 4th. This is Saturday. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday again. Okay, they had to get the donkey because it was a wild donkey, never been rid, because it was on the Sabbath. He walked into Jerusalem, looked around, kind of spying it out. God is hid. Bethany triumphal entry in the first overthrow, he said you make it a den of thieves. The second overthrowing, he taught you made it a den of thieves. On this day, he said you're going to make it a den of thieves, and then he stayed and healed a bunch of people. This day, he says he taught you made it a den of thieves, and then, of course, they walked by the root the next day, and they asked him by what authority you do that overthrowing. The oil on the feet, the oil on the head, the Jerusalem triumphal entry that only John records. The Last Supper, he's arrested. He's kept up, killed on the 14th. The high Sabbath starts. Okay, all self-explanatory. Oh, one more thing. Oh, I forgot the cities. Oh my gosh, the cities. They all got them starting from Jericho. Well, John has them from Ephraim city. Bethphage, Jerusalem, Bethany, Jerusalem. Bethany on that day, Jerusalem. Bethany at Mary's, Bethany Simon, Jerusalem, Last Supper. All right, bless y'all.